Okay, welcome everybody. If you can hear the sound of my voice, raise your hand. Don't see, oh, there we go. Hands are starting to go up. All right. So today I wanted to talk about a subject that's been coming up a lot with my team in the last few months. And so since I found myself explaining this over and over again, I thought I would just maybe make a video, right, and explain how the process works. So this is a scenario. First of all, sphere of influence, right? Somebody you know, somebody you meet, you're chatting them up about real estate, and are you interested in buying or you're selling? No, no, but they have an investment property or they have a property and they would like to rent it out. And they ask you, can you help me do that? Right now, you might want to say yes, because number one, you can make money. And number two, because it will keep a relationship going. And at some point, they may want to buy something else, they may want to sell something else, and you're still involved, right? So the other scenario might be, let's say you're deliberately focusing on multifamily units to market to, you're focusing on commercial properties, let's say, to market to, although I just want to say, I'm not doing the commercial end of this today. I'm not going to do that. Maybe another class, another time. This will be residential. But you're talking to people that own duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes, and hey, are you interested in selling it? And they're like, no, but I have a couple of units that I need to rent out. Can you help me? Right? So somehow you're running across people that want your help renting it out. So what typically happens at that point is the agent, if they're on my team in my coaching group, part of my sales organization, right? If let's say you're one of those and you call me up, or you call me up usually, and the question I get asked is this: I have a client who wants me to do property management. Can I do property management? Now, I work for EXP, and however, if you're at most real estate companies, most Keller Williams, Coldwell Bankers, and Taros, most residential resale companies, the question, can you do property management? The answer to that is no. No, you can't do property management. And if you're wondering why won't they let me do property management, the answer is because of litigation. It's a different errors and emissions insurance policy. In fact, something in the neighborhood of half of all real estate related lawsuits involve landlord-tenant relations, right? So the answer is no, you can't do property management, at which point the agent is kind of depressed and they said, oh, darn, somebody wanted me to help them find a tenant. Oh, wait a second, I would say. Wait a second, is that all they want you to do is find a tenant? And the agent says, yeah, well, then that's not property management. This is the first important point. There's a difference between being a leasing agent and being a property manager. Right? What's the difference, you ask? Well, a leasing agent only finds the tenant, right? Helps with the marketing of the rental, the finding of the tenant, maybe the screening of the tenant, the writing of the lease. But after the tenant moves in, we don't have anything to do with it. Property managers, in addition to perhaps being a leasing agent, also manage the property on an ongoing basis. For example, they might they might have all the rent checks put into a trust account, right? They might be paying for the maintenance, and they'll be taking the calls when the toilet is broken and the refrigerator stops and all those other kinds of things. You see, we don't want to do that, right? We don't want to touch the money. And by the way, most residential 1 to 4 unit, they don't want us to touch the money, right? They don't want us to either. They want to be paid directly. We're not involved after it's been rented. If that's okay. But by the way, just so you realize, if a property manager was managing the property on an ongoing basis, the commission would be something in the neighborhood of 10 to 15%. It could be 10 to 15% of the gross rents collected each year, right? So can you understand, most people that have a duplex, triplex, fourplex, or a single family or a condo or a townhouse, and they want to rent it out, they don't want to pay 15% to property. They don't want property management. They don't need property management. All right, I hope I'm clear. Right. So you can be a leasing agent, which is what I'm talking about today, but not a property manager. Now, for example, if you're an EXP and you wanted to do actual property management, that E&O is available only in our commercial division. Right. So you would have to be a member of the commercial division in order to be doing that. Can we help fill out the lease? The answer is yes, we fill out leases. Right, I'm going to go through the process. I'm not necessarily going to go through the lease, but we go from the beginning. This was my plan for today. From the beginning all the way to writing the lease to the tenant, right? That's what we do, right? That's sort of the, all right, is everybody with me? All right. Now, to start with, the first question they're likely to ask you is, what do you think I could rent my property for? What do you think? Now, I've done one recently, which is already, is this right? So let me 3450 Colony Green, right? Let me just take a note of that. 3450. All right, so I'm just going to remember that. All right. So one that we've done recently, I'm all over the place, and that's not what I wanted to be. All right, so one that we've done recently. So the person, the owner says, here's the address, here's the description, you know, what would you do? Now, the property that I'm talking about, which has already been listed, is San Jose, California. Already been rented, right? This one's already been rented. There it is, 3450 Colony Green, San Jose, California. Right? Now, what you can do with that, so this is an example, right? So they give you the address. This is a duplex, half of a duplex, right? So they give it to us. Now, one thing you can do, if you copy that, is you can go to our friends at Zillow. And this is, you know, the Zillow listing, right? And I think it's got these pictures. These don't look like, these look way better than our pictures. So these were pictures, I believe, that Zillow has pulled in from the last time it was on the market. Right, and notice, even though this was recently rented, it doesn't say, but if you scroll down in Zillow, you're going to see, in addition to home value, estimated proceeds, comparable, want to sell, owner options. Where is the facts and figures? Did I miss it? Am I missing something here? Home value, 30 days estimates, estimated net proceeds, comparable sales, ways to sell your home, sell it yourself, options. Here we go. I knew it was here someplace. Notice it says list your home for rent. And what you're going to see is Zillow's rent zestimate, which, by the way, is probably just as accurate as their home price zestimate, probably. But it's actually not bad, right? So without doing anything, without signing up for anything, without enrolling in anything, I can get Zillow to tell me what Zillow thinks it's worth. Now, I don't necessarily send this to the client and tell them, well, Zillow says we could rent it out for $29.90. I don't do that, because then they might think, why do I need you? I could have just gone to Zillow and they would have told me that too. But if you want a quick, how much would it rent for? How about that, right? How about that for a quick one? Now, when it comes to, all right, you know, sometimes like some of this client, I wanted to see comps, show me comparables, right? I want to see at least 3. So what I use for that, and in my, and I'm bouncing around a little bit, but there's a program called Rentometer, right? And I actually do have a pro version of Rentometer, which I would have to sign in. I'm not going to do that right now, but notice you can put in an address. You can put in a radius. I usually don't go out more than a mile, but you could do that. You put in the rent you think you're going to charge, and bedrooms and bathrooms. You only get a few choices with that. You need to know the square footage. All right, well, how would we know the square footage? Well, Zillow knows what the square footage is, right? Realtor.com does know, RPR knows, and whatever MLS you're a member of has a program that would allow you to access the information, like it's called Realist in my MLS. This is the tax data. And so one of the things that I would do just to make sure is I would pop it in there. And for some reason, it's giving me, how about that? Maybe that's what it didn't like. Let's just see. Well, I don't know. Maybe it doesn't like the drive. I don't know what it's doing. The reason, first of all, let me just explain what's going on, because it looks like I got the wrong address. However, the property is a duplex. And so what oftentimes happens is when you've got a duplex, a fourplex, or a triplex, and we're renting out one unit, it gets confused, it being, the system as to which one it is. It just gets a little bit confused, right? So we're not going to worry about that right now, but you might have to look at the owner and pull up the information in order to get it exact. But what we're going to do is in rental meter, right? Once we know the square footage, which the owner might tell you, we have a minimum and a max. I don't even put anything in there. Usually I'm just putting in a rent amount, and then I'm just filling this out. Now, what do you get, okay, now that you've done that? Well, here's an example of what, and this is for a different property, right? Obviously, this is for a different property. In fact, maybe I could use this one. Why don't I use this one, right? Because I believe this one is back here. All right, so there it is. It's a 3-2, 1483 square foot, built in 1953. These are things you need to know, right? The year it was built, how big is it? And sometimes if it's a duplex or something like that, it's going, one of the units is like the only unit. Sometimes in the tax records, it's just a thing. And the square footage is for the whole duplex. So I divide by 2, right? If it's a duplex, but we have to come up with the square footage. So let's say you've done all that, you put all the information in. Now I have, because this is something that happens regularly, I actually have a subscription to Rental Meter, right? I got no life, no social life, but I have a subscription to Rental Meter. And what I get when I do this is a report that looks like this, right? And so it does, there's 20, notice what it's done is it's given me, this is a different property, so it had a different rent amount. But it gives me an average, a median, the 25th percentile, not 100% sure what 7th percentile what those are, but that's the, and it gives you graphs and charts, and it gives you a summary of the statistics. There's a map. Here's all the different ones that we used as a comparable, right? It's got public record information. It's a reasonable report, right? So this is a CMA, essentially, is what I use this for. I use this as a CMA. Now, for those of you that are queasy, right, you might want to, cover your eyes and put your fingers in your ears, because I'm just saying this is a possibility, right? And I've paid for this report. You understand this isn't a free report, but there's a program that I really love. It's an extension, right? A browser extension. It works with Google Drive and it works with Dropbox, and it's free. They have paid versions, and I have to admit, I actually have the paid version, but it's called Doc Hub, DOCHUB. Now, my biggest problem with this report, the way it is now, is even though I paid the company to run the report, it doesn't have any of my information anywhere. Now, I'm not suggesting that you get rid of Rental Meter's logo. What I'm saying is it's not very hard to do that. I'm just saying. And maybe they have, I'm just saying it may be, something you might, I'm just saying somebody might, now, yes, and I paid for this, and it does say Rental Meter at the bottom, and no, I haven't read all of their, everything that they've got regarding, the use of it, but I'm just saying what I might want to do is, see if this works. And I know what you're saying, the picture's too small, right? But I could, oops, and once I go here, you grab it. So if you see where I'm going, by the way, I could put in a EXP logo, right? I could put in the Michael Devlin Group logo. I could put in, obviously, my name, my phone number, my email address, my DRE number, the name of my broker. Remember, if you're doing any marketing where you're contacting the public, your name, your DRE number, and the name of your broker, right? eXp Realty of California Incorporated. So one of the things that I could do is I could, like, just put it there. Now, if you look through, like, eXp has marketing materials that go through Breakthrough Broker for email signatures and things like that, and they make a bar, right? A banner kind of a thing, and you can have your picture and all your information, including your DRE number, and that email signature block or a business card block can be downloaded as an image, which means I could just insert it right now at the top of this report. I could just insert it there, and now it has my big banner and all that other kind of thing, and then I send it to the person, right? As here is the work I've done. Now, having said that, so you see, I was talking about comps, and unless you pay, I pay $39 a year for a rental meter account that allows me to do like 50 of these reports. If you're on my team, in my group, whatever, and you wanted one for a rental, just let me know, right? Because I'm probably not going to hit 50, thank goodness, right? But rental meter would be one way to do it. You could look at Zillow, and one of the things I've noticed is Zillow and Rental Meter they come up with something very similar, right, in terms of the price. Now, most of the time, the person I'm talking to, the landlord, owner of the property, they already know how much rent they want to charge. Most of the time, right? Sometimes they want to see all the comps, they want to see all that. So step one is we might need to find comparables and discuss what are you going to do. Okay, so number one, comparables. Number two is what are you going to do to market the property? And what I tell potential clients is that I'm going to market your property on literally hundreds of different websites. Right, it's going to everything from a sign in the yard to every major rental, hundreds of websites, right, in order to find a tenant. I'm going to show you how to do that. So step one, comp. Step two, this is what I'm going to do to market the property. You're going to put it on social media, you're going to put it on Craigslist, you're going to put it on all the major rental sites. Step three, right, what are you going to do? What else is your value proposition? You're going to assist them with the screening of tenants. That's step three. I'm going to show you how to do that. And then step four, you will help them write up the lease for the tenant who's getting the property, right? Those are the four key components. Comparables for coming up with the right rent, right? Marketing the property, screening of I forgot one there for a second, screening the tenants and writing the lease. Everybody got that? I didn't have time to type this all up into something, but those are the four. I'll say it again: comparables, marketing, screening, writing the lease. Everybody got it? Right. Those are your four main things. All right. So the landlord says, okay, what are you going to charge? How much? Right. Now, I'm not telling you there's only one fee that you could charge, because I don't want to talk to antitrust lawyers and things like that. I'm just saying that what is relatively common would be, if we're doing a 1-year lease, to charge 1 month's rent, sometimes rounded up as the commission. 1 month rent, that's what I charge, right? I've done that for years. Not that long ago, we did that, rounded it up a little bit. So one of them, it was $3,500 a month. We rounded it up to $4,000. right? But for doing all of those things, right? And by the way, the screening would involve credit checks and criminal background checks and everything, complete screening, right? We're going to get to that, right? So let's say they say that sounds fair, that sounds good. What do you do now? Now, the purpose of this class, because there's limited times, and if there's limited, and maybe I'll do a follow-up one, I'm not sure. But let's say they say, that's it, let's do it. I'm not going to today go through how to fill out all the forms, right? But let's just say they're ready to go. What you need to do now is to get a listing to list the rental property. That's the next step, right? So once you come to an agreement, sounds good, sounds like a fair commission, that sounds just what I need, sign me up. So you would click on, you go into CAR.org, and we're going to be going to zip forms, but before we go there, I just want to show you something. You'll notice that down here, there's something called rent spree. Right? You see rent spree? We're going to be coming back to rent spree, right? Because rent spree, and I was using rent spree before it was actually a CAR member benefit. Right, and I'm going to show you what it looks like when you log inside, but rent spree is a CAR member benefit, which means you don't have to pay extra, right? That's what it means. And it shows you it's a way of screening. But first, before we do anything, they got to sign a contract. Isn't that right? They got to sign them up. So you would log into zip forms. And these are not difficult forms. The broker, wherever you are, is doing classes on how to do these forms. I thought I already did that. Those are my commercial forms. I do commercial real estate as well, isn't it? So let me see. How about so what would we use, right? Right. You want to list it, right? They want to list it. So you go into zipper forms, and what I would do is type in the word lease. Now you're going to see a whole bunch of lease related things. Lease listing agreement. Lease rental commission agreement. When would you use that? And again, this wasn't supposed to be a technical class so much, but that would be where you're not listing it. In other words, you're not going to be marketing the property. You know somebody that wants to rent it. You know somebody that wants to be a tenant, and you put them together and you want to be paid a commission, but you're not going to be doing marketing and things like that. Where we're at, all we're going to do, this is all we're doing today. Right? I don't want to get into all the technical stuff. Okay, so what does that form look like? It looks kind of a lot like the exclusive authorization and right to sell, right? And it has rent amount, dollars, and things like that, security deposit, type of tenancy, items included, items excluded. Usually we don't fill that much out. Owner agrees to pay broker either a % of the total rent, or if it's specified in paragraph 2, or if a fixed term lease of the total payments due, or, and what you could do, and by the way, 6% is roughly 1/12. And so anyhow, you could just type in, a dollar amount, right? Whatever, right? Now, you should be talking to the owner. Does it need to be cleaned? Because the things that usually need to be done is cleaners need to go and clean it. And you need to either be able to take decent photographs or get somebody else to do it, right? And so sometimes we front the money on the cleaning, but then the landlord, reimburses us. It would be better if the landlord just paid for the cleaners, right? You understand? And then I would take care of the photographs. I don't usually hire a professional photographer because it could cost hundreds of dollars. If you don't know any good photographers, that means you don't know any teenagers, But anyhow, so there might be cleaning or something like that, but usually the cleanest way to do it is to just have a commission amount, don't get it, make them pay for the cleaners and that sort of stuff, but you'll take the pictures, right? Then the rest of this is just kind of a standard listing kind of form. It asks some questions about lead-based paint, because if it was built before 1978, there's a disclosures, right? There's more stuff, right? And so again, I wasn't going to go through this, but you need to look at it and check the things. Is there a meth lab? Sub-meters, that would mean are people paying through the sub-meters, like in a multi-unit, sometimes it's that way. Anyhow, that's a different class, right? I might do that at some other time, but I'm not doing it now. So we've listed it, right? We filled out that form. If you're in my group, call me, right? Because I'll help you fill out the form. The brokers in EXP will help you with it. They probably have on the forms classes on it at certain times. It's a lot like a listing agreement, right? Anyhow, so now we've listed it. Cool, right? Now what do we do? Well, the first thing you're going to want to do when you list it is you're going to want to put it into the multiple listing service. Right? First thing I do, put it in the MLS. And by doing that, I go to manage listings in the MLS. And not everybody is from my MLS that's on the call, which is cool, but it may be different. But if we're going to add a listing, these are our different choices. Now, I intend to put this listing into the MLS, right? So I intend for this to be a regular listing. And it's going to want to know what kind of a listing, and if it's a residential lease rental. And then it's asking me these questions. If it's a duplex, that's actually kind of a house, right? Or it's going to let me choose other things. When it says other rental property, I'm not really too sure. I just put it in as a house for rent. Or it could be, I'm trying to remember, what do I usually put in? Anyhow, we could start with this. The listing office, you basically go through and fill out the listing, right? You need pictures, you need a description for the public. If there's a description for the agents, that's fine. Now, why are we doing this? All right, why are we putting it in the MLS? Is it because that's likely to find an agent who has a tenant? And the answer is no, not in California, right? I mean, maybe where you are in California, real estate agents find rentals, but not where I am or any of the places that my team works, which is pretty much everywhere. We don't do that. So why not? And the answer is because there's really no money finding a tenant for a residential property. Well, one of the things we have to do when we put it in the MLS is we have to put in a commission amount. How much commission do you put in when I do this? And the answer is I put in $1. Now, are people mad at me? No, because most agents aren't ever going to look at it, and there's no money, right? You understand? There's no money. We don't need to pay somebody to find a tenant, right? We're in California, right? We don't need to pay somebody. So why are we doing this then, right? So we're going to put it in. We're going to put it in maybe for $1 or something like that. You could be more generous, right? And we're going to put it in. And what it does when it goes in the MLS is two things, right? There's sometimes a third, but two big things. Number one, it syndicates the rental to all real estate agent websites that have an IDX feed involving my MLS or your MLS. So that means that that rental would be on EXP's website. It would be on Coldwell Banker's website, and Compass's website, and Keller Williams' website, and Intero's website. All the real estate agent websites that have find a rental, it's going to be on that website because of the IDX feed. So you've now put it on hundreds of websites, right? You put it on hundreds of websites, right? Maybe, right? Depending on how many, are using the rentals. The second thing it does, and this is more important, is that it syndicates it to realtor.com. And 2 out of the last 4 rentals I did, the tenant came from realtor.com. So by putting it in the MLS, it goes to realtor.com. That's what I meant to say. And it goes on all the real estate agent and office websites that use IDX, right? So check mark, right? We've done that. Now that we've done that, step 2, usually once I've got it in the MLS, particularly giving it a little time, to percolate, I'm going to want to put it on a bunch of other sites. Now, one of them I'm going to show you is I'm going to put it on Craigslist. Now, how am I going to put it on Craigslist? Well, because I'm a member of eXp Realty and I get access to, the KV Core, it's going to show up. The rental will show up. And if I go over here to filters, and what I'm looking for is, what am I looking for? My listing, agency listings, locations, geographic, beds, bath, property type, style, minimum, maximum, general options, financial, rental options. I'm trying to figure out how did I do this last time I did it. Well, let me just San Jose. Let me just start with this. City of San Jose. And I'm going to just, how about this? Do a search. All right. There's something I'm missing here. I'm going to do the bathrooms. So let me just try this. It's not allowing me to pick. Here we go. All right, I'm going to do this, just make it a little bit quicker. So you won't be having the problem I have, which is I don't have a property right now that's on the MLS that I could do it for, but I'm assuming you have put it in the MLS, right? I'm assuming that. And so you're going to notice that here are San Jose rentals that are in Pacifica. Why is it doing that? Let me just say, this is, all right. This is a very popular zip code. Here we go. So this obviously isn't my listing, but let's say this was your listing, right? And so we're not going to actually necessarily do this, but let's say this is your listing. Then what you would, and it's in the MLS, you would go to KV Core, right? You would go to KV Core and you would find your listing, right? You would find it. And of course, this is just not going to cooperate. How about this? I'm going to just do, that's why, because I had agency listings, still not showing up. Okay, how about, well, anyhow, it works better if you, once your listing is in, and I'm embarrassed now, why is this not doing, I don't know. I don't know why it's not finding it in the MLS. So, not entirely sure. 259 Banana Grove 95123. I really didn't want to spend a lot of time on this. I just did this the other day, and here, over here, 95123. Why am I missing? Why am I missing it? Search options, rental options. I don't know. Here, okay, let's just see if it will find any. So here's an actual listing, okay? I'm going to go with this one. Right? We're not actually going to do anything, but what I'm assuming is that you're going to be able to find your listing after you put it in the MLS, right? That's what I'm assuming, without having the problems that I'm having. And let's say, just for fun, this is your beautiful rental listing. Now, one of the things you're going to notice, if you look over on the right, is there's a direct link. And if you copy that link, again, I'm assuming this is your listing. You copy that link and you put it in the browser, you're going to see that this is a single property web page that has been created for this rental. right? It's been created, which is something, notice it's got my branding on it and all that, because this is an IDX page. And so that particular link is something that I could post on social media and do things with, right? But again, I mentioned Craigslist, right? So let's say we go over here to more actions and we click on that. Notice one of the choices is post to Craigslist. And when you click on that, it's already knows where I'm located. And I'm going to, I don't even remember where this was in San Jose, but let me go back. So this is, I really didn't want this. So this is, it did it very quickly. So this is the ad that was generated for Craigslist, right? We're not going to post it necessarily because I don't need renters. But if this were my listing, this is what I'd be posting on Craigslist. Note, look at this. Please text, right? That goes to the smart number. My actual real cell phone number is not there, right? It's not there. Now, I oftentimes make a change. This is the office DRE number. It doesn't have my DRE number. So I would change that to put in my DRE number, but otherwise it's got my name, it's got the name of my broker, it has my broker's DRE number, which is not necessary. I change it to my DRE number. That is a smart number, which is a number that the KV Core system has generated. I don't want to use that because it's, unless I paid, it's going to be a number that might go to another agent, right? There's a possibility unless I have my own smart number. So what I do is I created a Google Voice number, right? And if you have a Gmail account, you could have, you have a Google Voice number someplace where you could get it. If you don't have a Gmail account or you use your Google Voice number, create a Google Gmail account and get another Google Voice number, which by the way it'll take text. You can text people back and forth. I've got several Google Voice numbers. And so I would put in the Google Voice number. So when I'm putting it on Craigslist, now some of you, and I have to admit the last time I just put in my cell phone, I just put it in, right? But you know, my phone will pick up Google Voice numbers and that way I'm not putting my cell phone number on Craigslist. What could go wrong, right? But it makes it easier to block people or whatever. But then, you know, if people just took my name and the name of the broker, they would find my cell phone number. But you see how easy that was, right? How it's in there. When I hit publish, which I'm not going to do, I put it on Craigslist. So the steps. First step is put it on the MLS, right? That puts it on realtor.com and real estate office websites. Step two, find it on KV Core. That gives you the link to the landing page for the property, plus you can easily post it on Craigslist. You also, by the way, if we went to more actions, could post it on Twitter or on Facebook, right there. Right? You can just do it. You can generate a QR code. You can make a flyer. I don't usually do any of those things, but you can do that. Right? You can do all that. So what else? Right now, all we have to do is wait for the calls that come in. Well, all right. Realtor.com, when it hits there, oftentimes starts producing calls. Secondly, you go to Home Depot, right? This is what I do, right? Or you go to, you want a for rent sign, right? Now, it's better to do the whole, you know, regular sign that you can put in front of the property and you can get a, you know, a rider that says for rent. You could just get a sign that says for rent. Remember your name, your DRE number, and the name of your broker. But you know, you put a sign on the property. You get a lot of calls from the sign on the property. All right, so we put it in the MLS. We put a sign on the property, and it would have the Google Voice number, right, that I'm using for rentals. And then number three, the big dog. Right now, it's time for the big dog. And the big dog, of course, is Zillow rental manager. Right? Now, I've put links to this in here, including these rental sites. There's some articles about it. Like, for example, the 15 best sites for advertising. This Avail is a site that, well, when you put it in there, will syndicate it to a bunch of other sites. They don't charge. right? Property Where, the top 5 websites, that was just a 25, just a nice article. Rentprep.com has also some articles about how do you advertise it, and the YouTube is an explanation of how to use Zillow Rental Manager, right? Now, let me see, is this the one I wanted to use? Avail, PadMapper, Realtor.com. A lot of these will be syndicated. Zillow, and because Zillow, Truly, and HotPads, so it goes on HotPads, Truly, and Zillow when you put it on Zillow. Right. And also there's another one here, this is just for your edification. How am I doing on time? Well, your websites, Craigslist, Oodle, and notice most of them have kind of the same list. Zillow, the article I was looking for, it must be this one because it would be the last one. Eventually, once it goes on Zillow, it's going to go to different sites. And so this is just some other useful videos about where you should rent. This is what I was looking for. When you post in Zillow Rental Manager, your listing automatically is shared with the following sites. I don't know if anybody goes to AOL Real Estate, but these are the big ones. So if we go to Zillow Rental Manager, you can, and by the way, you enter, and this is true for the other platforms, like you're the landlord, right? If they say, are you a landlord or a tenant? You say, I'm a landlord. And you say, I'm a landlord. And then it's going to ask you, are you a property manager or are you the actual landlord? And at this point, you're going to say property manager, even though, remember, you're not really a property manager, you're just doing it. And they will allow you to go ahead and post your rental. All right. And again, remember your name, your broker's name, and your DRE number. So if Zillow doesn't automatically in the rental manager put that at the description, at the end, your name, your DRE name number, and the name of your broker. If you don't do that and the Department of Real Estate catches you, right, they sometimes find people, they can fine you up to $2,500, right? Just your name, your broker, and your DRE number, make sure it's in there. Now, what you're going to find is that between Zillow and where they syndicate it and Realtor.com and the sign, that's where most of the people are going to come from, right? That's where they're going to come from, right? And so, and you can go and keep posting it and keep posting it. At some point, if you take the address of the property and you drop it into Google, Google's going to show you all the places where that comes up. And so when our guys were saying, well, where is it? Show me where you posted it. I don't know why he couldn't do this, but you take the address, you drop it into Google. Google shows you all the sites where that address is. You find all the ones that are rental, copy the links, put it in, and you send it back. But Zillow's the big one, right? Because Zillow does rental. Realtor.com's a big one. Truly, those are the big ones, and that's where most of the people come from, right? The last ones we rented, Zillow and Realtor.com, is where they came from. All right, so now people want to show it. We use combo boxes, usually not lock boxes. Sometimes the owner has one, sometimes they don't. You got to go show it. You can do open houses. Almost all these sites have, the opportunity for you to do an open house on the weekend as a rental. You could do that, by the way, and go talk to the neighbors about selling their home or renting it out. So now it's flooding, right? You're getting calls and all that other kind of stuff. Now what do? You got to screen them. You've got to screen them. Now, when it comes to screening them, you go into your CAR.org, you go down to Rent Spree, California Association of Realtors, right? Rent Spree, start screening, log in. It will want you to log in the way you log in to CAR. I already had an account, so it's a little weirder, I guess. I don't know, because they switched, but here are some of the ones that I have in Rent Spree. Let's just take a look at this one for fun. So tenant screening is on. Notice you can create pages and do e-signatures. We don't need to do that, right? Because KV Core is going to create a listing page. We don't need to do that. We already have zip forms. We don't need to do that. We don't want to collect rent. We don't want to buy insurance. We don't want to do any of that stuff, right? We don't want to do any of that stuff. But what we want to do is once we've created a listing, right? And these are, let me go back here. So once we've created a listing, we're going to want to, if we look over here, you're going to notice it says screen new tenants, right? In the little drop-down box. That one is already gone. I don't necessarily use the CAR rental application, but you're welcome to do that, right? You're a member, you need to know your last name, your broker's name, and your NRDS number, but there's a standard one that comes with it, which is fine. I leave applicants will pay. You don't want to pay the credit reports and then try and collect it from them. Let them pay. And I usually check all the boxes, right, that are all included. And the application fee is $30. And as I go on, I could email it to somebody, right? Right now, I could text it to somebody, and they also give me a link, which I could copy. So that when people are saying, I'm interested, I send them the link and they can fill out the link. Will there be a replay? Yes, there'll be a replay. I use their application for tenants and it's great. I love RentSpring. All right, good. So I just use the one that's standard. Now I have a link, all right? I have a link for people to apply. I could even put that in Craigslist. Hey, you want to apply here? But I want to show people the property, right, before I give them that link, right? That's my thing. All right, and there's a rent screening handout for open houses. I usually don't do the open houses, but you certainly could. It's not a bad idea. You can meet people. So now we're going to start getting these reports, right, which I forward to the owner of the property, right? And I'm not going to show you one of those because it's got people's names and things like that on it, right? It does, but anyhow, it's so then it has a credit score and it talks about employment history. Well, let's talk about advertising for a moment. I think you guys need to, we need to do something maybe to make sure you guys are alive and still paying attention. What we're going to do, I'd like everybody, we're talking about advertising now. Take a look at the poll that I have just put out there. And what I would like you to do, everybody, I'll show you how to get the rent break. Can everybody see the poll? Am I missing something? Nobody can see the poll. Yes, you can see the poll. So the idea of the poll is for you to answer the questions. All right. Answer. I want to see what your answers are. And yes, your score will be sent to the California Department of Real Estate based upon, your broker will get a copy too. So the question, are we almost done? Oh no, it's people are thinking, they're researching on the internet. It seems like we are, I'm going to close the poll. Are we all done? Have you guys all? This isn't a difficult question. Okay. So I don't do the polls very often. I'm going to close the poll, and what it shows, I'm not sure what it's showing on your screen. Let me just see, what is it showing? I don't know if it's showing the poll because I get, you can see you mean B. People are trying to change it. So the answer is D, both A and C. Under federal fair housing laws, what is it that, let me just pull this up just to make sure I've got the wording right. No, that's not the poll. All right, I need to get better at the polls. So the question was, under the fair housing laws, what could you, it is legal to prohibit which of the following in a housing unit? And the answer is both A, which is smoking, and C, which is drinking alcohol. Both of those. So I'm going to make a few comments, and then I'm going to give you maybe, what you can do about it. And I have a bunch of links, the CAR disclosures and articles and things like that. Let's say your client says, I don't want pets. No pets. Okay. So you write an ad and you put in the description, no pets. If you got a pet, don't even bother to call, right? And what happens is you get a call. And somebody who's calling you says, hey, I have a German Shepherd, and I'm very fond of the German Shepherd. Can I rent that unit? And you say, no, you cannot, right? No pets. Can't you read? It says no pets. And then a few hours later, you get another phone call, and this time it's from an attorney. And the attorney, by the way, is not only going after you, but your broker and the landlord. And what the attorney is going to point out to you is that person that called you was blind, and the dog they were referring to was a guide dog, and you have just refused to rent an apartment or a unit to a blind person because they have a guide dog. Do you understand? You've got problems. You've got problems. The broker has problems. The landlord has problems, and these problems will cost thousands of dollars before they go away. Thousands of dollars. So you could say no pets unless service dog or you could just not mention pets. Just not mention pets. Now, first, can you charge more rent if there's a pet? Answer is yes. That doesn't violate fair housing laws. Can you have a higher security deposit if there's a pet? Answer is yes, you can do that. But saying no pets is getting on protected classes. How about, I've had clients say no Section 8. I don't want to deal with Section 8. Don't put in the ad no Section 8. You do that, again, you're going to meet lawyers, right? You're going to be talking to them, right? Because again, you're in trouble because you can't discriminate people based upon the source of where their money is coming from. Now, what usually happens, so you can't post on pets on the public remarks. Is it illegal? You have to word it very carefully if you talk about no pets. I don't see why. Just don't talk about pets. Let me finish the pet thing, right? So first of all, we could charge more. If we've got 5 applicants and they're all willing to pay the same amount of rent and one doesn't have pets, but it's got a similar credit score and everything else, could we not choose the one that doesn't have pets? The answer is yes. We could probably do that as long as we weren't discriminating. You understand? You just have to be careful. Right? I'm just saying I don't put anything about pets in the ad. I just don't do it. Right? Section 8. Section 8 is a government subsidized program. I had landlords say, I don't want to do Section 8. You can't say no Section 8. Right? Again, you're in trouble. So what I explain to them, what happens is somebody calls and they say, do you take Section 8? You're going to say yes. Right? I'd say, yes, of course we do. It's illegal not to. And I've had people say, oh, yes, it is illegal not to. Right? So yeah, go ahead. So they apply. And then sometimes there's all these forms that you have to fill out for Section 8. Not that complicated, but we fill out the forms. It goes to the local department. And usually what happens is they come back with a different rent amount than what we want. Right? The last one was almost $1,000 less than what we wanted. Are you obligated to lower the rent to match Section 8? The answer is no. No, you're not obligated to match the lower rent. You say, nope, we're not going to match the lower rent. Goodbye, see y'all later. You're done with that particular tenant. Does everybody understand? But be very careful. Now, if you're at EXP, you probably already know this. But if you're at EXP and you read the California policies and procedures, which you probably have a copy next to your bed, on your phone, right? And if you scroll, you're going to see something that says advertising proofs should be submitted to the broker. So my suggestion, which is also the policies and procedures, is before you run the ad, send it to the broker and let the broker look at the ad, right? Before you have to explain to attorneys and other people why you wrote that in the ad. It's tricky, right? I'm just saying it's tricky. All right, so we've covered how to get comps. They're, you know, basically we're just looking at other rentals. The rental meter keeps track of some of them that have closed, which is handy. Screening is through Rent Spree. We're going to market it through all these different sites. And then what I've thrown in, just for those of you that, you know, are interested, are the California Association of Realtors links, including this one, which I think I'm logged in, it should just take me, is a folder of all sorts of fun stuff about landlord tenants, right? But I don't really get into a lot of this stuff because what I'm just doing is finding the tenant, writing the lease. And then again, I'm not going to go through the form necessarily today because it wasn't my plan. But now somebody is ready, right? And there's more forms than, you know, this would be a whole forms class of all the different rental forms. But let's say we've found our, you know, our tenant. And when do you get paid? The deposit first and last month's rent, right? And when that deposit hits escrow, excuse me, when it hits the landlord, because usually the payment is made directly to the landlord, then the landlord writes a check to the broker, right? And then you get some, and if you're in my group, I get a little bit for helping you, but I spend a lot of time helping people on these sort of things. So now we've got one, right? And now it's time to write the lease. And so again, we're not explaining line by line how to do it. But if we type in lease, there's a residential lease month to month. Now the RLAS is the one you're probably more familiar with because that's the form that is used if somebody is staying more than 30 days, a seller, right? Residential lease. That's not the one we want. We want that one that says residential lease / month-to-month rental. Now, even though we are doing a 1 year, this form is a catch-all form where you fill it out and it asks, is it a month-to-month or is it a fixed term lease? Oh, is it still showing the rent spree page? I don't think so, but I can see rent spree. It's only showing rent spree. Why would that be? I don't know. Can you see the form now? Yes. Let me see. All right. No idea. I must have clicked on something. So there are the seller in possession form. We don't want to use it. The residential lease after sale form. We don't want to use it, right? Because this isn't something after the sale of a property. This is the form. Residential lease or month-to-month rental, right? And again, it's not that complicated, but you would want to show it to your broker or to somebody, right? And you would go ahead and write the lease, right? And that would be maybe a totally different class, but we write the lease. When it's done, you send it to the tenants for signatures, send it to the landlord for signatures. Once that's done, you get a copy, you sign it, you turn it into the broker, and when they pay the landlord, then the landlord pays us. All right, and that's the procedure, right? Now, if you're in my group, on my team, or any of that sort of stuff, and you need help with any of these components, let me know. But I just wanted to cover what was involved because you never know, right? It's a little bit of money. First of all, you're asking me what about Redfin? Is Redfin also accurate? Redfin doesn't do rentals. All right, let me just say that. Redfin does not do rentals. So if we go to redfin.com, and we are looking, notice we can find a home, sell a home, but I don't think Redfin does rentals, right? I don't see, notice what's missing is the for rent box, right? Choice, it's just not there. Now, even if we were to type in San Jose, And we're now looking, and if you look at here are the sales, look at, we've got 4 sales. This is what we get, right? Notice rent is not an option. So they're not, Redfin will not be of any help to us. Zillow is the one that wants to estimate what a property would rent for, right? That's Zillow. And so, but I don't know of any other website that says this is our guess as to what the rental amount is. I don't know of any. All right, sorry if that was I was a little here and there. I hope you found that exciting and fun. Remember, show the ad to your broker, right, before you put it on the internet, before you meet lawyers, right? Any questions, reach out to me. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.